That's enough, Doctor. Harper Williams. The cold woman Madison thought only knew how to hate her stepped out from the shadows, her steel-gray eyes blazing with fury. No one is allowed to hurt her. Chapter 1. Sunshine and Storm. Madison Chen hurried into operating room 7. Her pastel pink surgical mask, a gift from a pediatric patient she'd saved the week before, still bright and cheerful despite an 8-hour surgery. Her sapphire blue eyes sparkled like wet gemstones, partly from exhaustion, partly from joy thinking about little Tommy going home to his family tomorrow. "Good morning, doctors," Madison called out in her silver bell voice, waving to everyone in the break room. The light streaming through the window behind her made her golden hair glow like a halo. Harper Williams looked up from a thick stack of patient files, her cold steel-gray eyes sweeping over Madison before looking down again, muttering something that sounded like too loud. Madison didn't catch it clearly, but she could feel the wave of coldness emanating from that corner of the room. Dr. Harper Williams, St. Mary Hospital's most talented neurosurgeon, the one whose name made all the residents tremble. With her jet-black hair slicked back neatly, a face with angles sharp as carved marble, and cold eyes that could freeze an entire room, Harper was the perfect image of a surgeon brilliant, cold, and untouchable. Madison had worked at St. Mary for 2 years, but Harper had never said a kind word to her. Actually, Harper rarely spoke to anyone unless work demanded it. And with Madison, those few words were usually less than friendly. "Dr. Chen." Harper's deep but cold voice rang out as Madison was pouring coffee. "Your surgical report from yesterday has some errors in medical terminology." Madison turned around, her smile still radiant despite a slight tightening in her chest. "Thank you for letting me know. I'll correct it right away." "Be more careful next time," Harper said, her tone devoid of emotion. "Professionalism doesn't allow for carelessness." "Yes, I understand," Madison nodded, but her smile had dimmed slightly. When Madison left the room, Harper looked up to watch that slender figure, feeling an unexpected tightness in her chest. She hated this feeling, this loss of control whenever Madison was near. That clear voice, that radiant smile, and especially those emotion-filled eyes made Harper want to. Want what? Harper shook her head forcefully, pushing those strange thoughts away. She didn't have time for such nonsense. Chapter 2. The First Cracks. 2 weeks later, Madison sat alone in the break room after the first failed surgery of her career. 6-year-old Sarah hadn't made it. Tears fell onto her trembling hands, soaking into her white blouse. "Why are you crying like that?" Dr. Jennifer Morrison, the cardiac surgeon known for her difficult personality, entered the room with a disdainful expression. "How unprofessional. Patient death is normal. It's not something to sit here crying about like a child." Madison quickly wiped her tears, trying to regain her composure. "I'm sorry, You just what?" Jennifer interrupted, her voice growing more acidic. "You think your emotions are more important than the patient's life? If you're this weak, don't be a doctor. This profession isn't for people who are too emotional like you." Those words stabbed into Madison's heart like knives. She bit her lip hard, trying to hold back more tears. "Are you listening to me?" Jennifer continued, her expression growing more vicious. "People like you just ruin the hospital's reputation. If you can't control your emotions, then that's enough." A cold but authoritative voice rang out from the doorway. Harper stood there, her steel gray eyes looking at Jennifer with a dangerous expression Madison had never seen before. Dr. Morrison. Harper stepped into the room, each footstep measured but threatening. I think you've misunderstood something. Harper, I was just... What were you doing? Harper interrupted, speaking each word slowly and deliberately. Were you humiliating a colleague because she has a heart? Because she cares about patients? I thought that's exactly what a doctor should have. Jennifer flinched at Harper's attitude. She'd seen Harper cold before, but never this angry. Madison Chen is one of the most talented pediatric surgeons I've ever met, Harper continued, her voice growing colder. She saved more children than you did last year. And if you think caring about and empathizing with patients is weakness, then maybe you should reconsider why you became a doctor. I didn't. Are you finished? Harper asked, her tone like ice. Because I think Dr. Chen needs peace and quiet to rest after a difficult surgery, rather than listening to nonsense. Jennifer held out for a moment, then left, slamming the door hard behind her. The break room fell into silence. Madison sat there, looking at Harper with surprise and gratitude. Thank you, Madison whispered, her voice trembling. Harper stood there for a moment, looking at Madison with something new in her eyes. Then she turned to leave, but before stepping out the door, she stopped. Dr. Chen, Harper said without turning back. Empathy for patients isn't a weakness. It's what makes a good doctor. And then she left, leaving Madison sitting there with her heart pounding. Chapter 3. Stolen Moments. After the incident in the break room, something changed between Harper and Madison. Not kind words or smiles, Harper remained as cold as usual, but there were the looks. Looks that lasted a second longer. Times when their eyes met in the hallway, and Harper didn't immediately turn away. Madison began paying more attention to Harper, the way she focused absolutely during surgery, her hands skilled and precise to the millimeter, and especially how Harper often worked late to double-check patients' conditions, something no one else knew about. One Friday evening, Madison stayed late to finish reports. Walking past the operating rooms, she saw lights still on in Harper's office. Curious, she gently knocked. Dr. Williams? You're still here? Harper looked up from the files, her eyes showing slight surprise. Dr. Chen, you're working late too? Yes, finishing reports. Madison stepped into the office, carrying 2 cups of coffee. I thought you might need this. Harper looked at the coffee, then at Madison. There was a moment of hesitation, then she accepted it. Thank you. They sat in silence for a while, only the sound of papers turning and coffee being sipped. Do you ever regret choosing this profession? Madison suddenly asked. Harper stopped, looking at Madison with an unreadable expression. Why do you ask? Because sometimes I feel like I'm not strong enough, Madison confessed, her voice small as a whisper. Like Dr. Morrison said, maybe I'm too emotional to be a doctor. Dr. Morrison was wrong, Harper said definitively. Your emotions are what make you special. Madison looked at Harper in surprise. This was the first time she'd heard Harper say something positive about her. You know, Madison said, a gentle smile appearing on her lips. This is the first time you've complimented me. Harper was quiet for a moment, then said, I'm not good at expressing emotions. I know, Madison said softly. But your actions say everything. Their eyes met in the dim office light. There was something electric in the air, a new tension that both could feel but neither dared acknowledge. "You should go rest," Harper said, her voice slightly hoarse. "It's late. So should you." Madison stood up, but her feet seemed reluctant to move. When Madison reached the door, she turned back. "Harper, what?" "Thank you. For the other day. For everything." Harper didn't answer, but the way she looked at Madison said it all. Chapter 4. Fire and Water. In the following days, Harper found herself constantly watching Madison, the way she smiled with the little ones, how she carefully explained things to patients' families, how she always carried cartoon stickers to give to pediatric patients. Madison was sunshine warm, radiant, and full of life, while Harper was a storm, cold, powerful, and dangerous. Two extremes that could never blend together, right? But then there were moments. Times when Madison accidentally touched Harper's hand while passing medical instruments. Warm skin touching cold skin, creating electric sparks both could feel. Times they stood too close in the elevator, breathing in Madison's gentle perfume and the familiar antiseptic scent on Harper. One Tuesday afternoon, they had to work together on an emergency surgery. A child with severe traumatic brain injury, requiring cooperation between pediatrics and neurosurgery. "This blood vessel needs careful handling," Harper instructed, her hands working with absolute precision. "I understand," Madison replied, completely focused on the surgery. Under the surgical lights, her blonde hair gleamed like gold. They worked like two dancers in perfect choreography. Harper cold and precise, Madison warm and meticulous. When Harper needed an instrument, Madison had it ready. When Madison encountered difficulty, Harper guided her with brief but accurate words. "Excellent," Harper whispered when they successfully completed the surgery. "You did very well." Madison looked up, her eyes shining. "We did it!" For a moment, Harper forgot to breathe. Madison was breathtakingly beautiful when happy like that, and the distance between them, only a few inches. "We should," Harper began to say, but her voice disappeared when she realized Madison was looking at her with different eyes. Not colleague admiration, something deeper, more dangerous. The sound of the operating room door opening with a beep made them both snap back to reality. "How is the patient's condition?" a nurse asked. "Stable," Harper replied, her voice having regained its cold professional tone. "Transfer to ICU for monitoring." But when the nurse left, Harper and Madison's eyes found each other again, and this time, neither looked away. Chapter 5. First Kisses. 2 weeks after the operating room incident, Harper found she couldn't focus on work. Every time she saw Madison, her heart beat faster. Every time she heard Madison's clear laugh, she wanted to find reasons to be closer. This wasn't normal. Harper Williams never let emotions rule logic. But Madison was different. One Thursday evening, Harper stayed late as usual. She was reviewing the next day's surgery when she heard a gentle knock. "Harper?" Madison poked her head in. "I brought sandwiches. Would you like one?" Harper looked at the sandwich carefully wrapped in pink paper, so typical of Madison. "You don't need to." "I know you often forget to eat when you're focused on work." Madison stepped in, placing the sandwich on the desk. "And before you say you're not hungry, your stomach already betrayed you." "Right then," Harper's stomach growled. Madison giggled, and Harper couldn't help but smile too. "You're so stubborn," Harper said, but her tone wasn't annoyed at all. I learned from you, Madison replied playfully. You can say no, but your actions are different. Harper took the sandwich, trying not to notice how their fingers touched when Madison handed it to her. But Madison's warm skin seemed magical, making Harper want something she didn't dare admit. It's good, Harper said after taking a bite. I made it, Madison said proudly. My mom's recipe. You have a talent for cooking. You have other strengths too, Madison said, then blushed when she realized the statement could be interpreted many ways. I mean, you're good at many things. I understand what you mean, Harper said, secretly enjoying Madison's rare shyness. They ate in silence, but not uncomfortable silence. The kind of comfortable silence of two people who had known each other for a long time. Harper, Madison suddenly said, can I ask you something? Go ahead. Why are you always distant from everyone? Harper stopped, sandwich still in her hand. This was the question she feared most. I'm not good at connecting with people, Harper said carefully. Or you don't want to? Madison asked, her blue eyes looking straight at Harper with deep understanding. Because you're afraid? Harper felt like Madison had just looked straight into her soul. You don't understand. I do understand, Madison interrupted, her voice gentle but certain. You're afraid of being hurt. You're afraid that letting someone close will make you weak. But you know what? Sometimes, letting someone into your heart is the bravest thing to do. Harper looked at Madison, her heart pounding like drums. This girl, how did she understand so clearly? You don't know anything about me, Harper said, but her voice was no longer cold. Only exhaustion and longing remained. I know you always work late to check on patients, Madison said gently. I know you keep photos of children who didn't make it in your desk drawer. I know you give cash to poor families who can't afford hospital bills. I know. Enough, Harper whispered, but not from anger, because she felt exposed, as if Madison had stripped away all the armor she'd built up over the years. Madison stood up, stepped closer to Harper. Too close. Close enough that Harper could smell the sweet scent from her golden hair, could see the small golden flecks in her blue eyes. Harper, Madison whispered, her hand gently touching Harper's cheek. I don't want to hurt you. I just want to understand you. Harper felt like the world around her was dissolving. Only Madison remained, her warm eyes, the soft skin under her fingertips, and the intense desire to kiss those soft pink lips. You shouldn't be here, Harper whispered, but her hand moved to cover Madison's, not pushing away but holding it there. Why? Because I can't control myself when you're near. Madison was surprised by Harper's sudden honesty. Then she smiled a smile different from her usual radiant ones. This smile had something seductive about it. Maybe you don't need to control yourself, Madison whispered, moving her face closer. And Harper had no strength left to resist. She kissed Madison a slow, careful kiss at first, then becoming intense when Madison responded. Madison tasted like summer, sweet, warm, and full of life. And Harper. Harper was like a storm engulfing Madison in her arms, not wanting to let go. When they separated, both were breathing heavily. We shouldn't, Harper began to say. Shouldn't what? Madison asked, her hand still on Harper's cheek. Shouldn't we be happy? Harper looked at Madison, seeing in her eyes not regret, not fear, only hope. "You don't know what you're doing," Harper whispered. "Then teach me," Madison said, her smile blooming like a flower. "I'll teach you." And this time, when Harper kissed Madison, she was no longer afraid. Chapter 6. Sweet Secrets. After that night, everything changed. Not on the surface, Harper remained cold, Madison still radiant in everyone's eyes. But between them were little secrets, gestures only the two of them understood. Times Harper accidentally touched Madison's hand when passing patient files. Long looks in the hallway, full of meaning that no one else could understand. Short messages during lunch breaks. "Room 302 empty. 5 minutes. Harper. Coming right now. Madison." And secret rendezvous. In the empty medical supply room, Harper pressed Madison against the wall, kissing her passionately amid the smell of medicine and cold neon lights. On the hospital rooftop, Madison draped her jacket over Harper's shoulders, the two sitting in silence, watching the city at night. "Do you regret it?" Harper asked one Sunday afternoon, when they were hiding in the old records room. "Regret what?" Madison asked back, her hand still intertwined with Harper's. "This. Us." Madison turned to look at Harper, her eyes serious. "Harper, do I regret learning how to perform heart surgery? Do I regret saving those children? So why would I regret loving you?" The word love made Harper startle. They had never said that word before. Madison blushed, realizing she'd just confessed. "I didn't mean to." "You did mean to," Harper said gently, gripping Madison's hand tighter. "And I love you too." It was the first time Harper had said the word love in her life, and she didn't regret it at all. Chapter 7. The Storm Within. The next month passed like a beautiful dream. Harper and Madison found ways to be together whenever possible. Hurried breakfasts in the hospital cafeteria, phone calls at night when both were on duty, stolen kisses in elevators between floors. Madison taught Harper how to smile. Not the cold, professional smile, but a real smile from the heart. Harper taught Madison how to be strong not by suppressing emotions, but by turning emotions into strength. "Do you know how beautiful you are?" Harper whispered one late afternoon, the two hiding in the on-call room. Madison laughed, her cheeks flushing. "Do you say that to all women?" "I've never said that to anyone," Harper confessed, her hand stroking the golden hair. "You're the first person to make me want to say such things. You're also the first person to make me feel like that," Madison admitted, her hand tracing the lines on Harper's face. "Like I can be strong and gentle at the same time." "You've always been like that," Harper said. "I just helped you realize it." They kissed in the sunset light streaming through the window, time seeming to stop. But then Harper's phone rang emergency surgery. "I have to go," Harper said, reluctantly leaving Madison's arms. "Go," Madison said, arranging Harper's hair. "But be careful. I can't lose you." Harper stopped at the door, turning back to look at Madison with loving eyes. "You too. You're all I have." Chapter 8. When Secrets Are Discovered. Everything collapsed on a rainy Monday in October. Dr. Richard Hayes, the surgery department head, a conservative and strict man, caught Harper and Madison holding hands in the hallway after surgery. "Dr. Williams, Dr. Chen," his cold voice rang out. "My office. Right now." Madison and Harper exchanged worried looks, but had no other choice. In the office, Dr. Hayes closed the door, turned to look at them with stern eyes. "I'll be direct," he began. "What I just witnessed is completely unacceptable in a professional work environment." "Dr. Hayes," Madison began, but he raised his hand to stop her. "Dr. Chen, be quiet. Dr. Williams, I'm very disappointed in you. You're one of the hospital's most talented doctors, but this behavior, it affects our reputation." Harper felt her blood boiling. "Sir, we haven't done anything to affect our work." "Haven't affected?" Dr. Hayes laughed mockingly. "Do you think I'm blind? I see the way you two look at each other, the way you interact. This is a hospital, not a place for women to play romantic games with each other." The words "women" and "romantic games" made Harper furious, but Madison squeezed her hand, signaling calm. "Dr. Hayes," Madison said in a measured voice, "we understand your concern, but we always maintain professionalism at work. Our surgical results and patient evaluations are all excellent." "That's not the issue," Dr. Hayes roared. "The issue is the abnormal nature of this relationship. We can't let these wrong tendencies affect the work environment." "Wrong tendencies?" Harper couldn't contain herself anymore, her voice cold as ice. "You're talking about love as if it's a disease." "Love?" Dr. Hayes laughed bitterly. "Call it whatever you want, but it has no place here. I'll transfer Dr. Chen to another department." "No." Harper stood up, her eyes full of determination. "You can't do that." "I can, and I will. Unless—" "Unless what?" Madison asked, her voice trembling. "Unless one of you resigns," Dr. Hayes said with a malicious smile. "Your choice." The room fell into silence. Harper and Madison looked at each other, both understanding they were facing the most terrible choice of their lives. Chapter 9. Painful Decision. That night, Harper and Madison met at Madison's small apartment. The atmosphere was heavy, both knowing this conversation would change everything. "I'll resign," Madison said first, her voice determined despite tears in her eyes. "No," Harper shook her head forcefully. "You can't give up your career for me. You love this profession." "I love you more," Madison said straightforwardly. "I can find work at another hospital." "And let me live with guilt for the rest of my life?" Harper hugged Madison, her voice choking. "No, if anyone should resign, it's me." "Are you crazy? You're the most talented neurosurgeon in the city. You save many people every day." "And you save many children," Harper interrupted. "You bring hope to families. You—" "What are we doing?" Madison suddenly broke down crying. "We're arguing about who will sacrifice for love. Why does it have to be like this? Why does love have to be wrong?" Harper held Madison tighter, tears beginning to fall too. "I don't know, my love. I only know I can't lose you." "Me too," Madison whispered into Harper's shoulder. "I can't imagine life without you." They held each other and cried in silence, both knowing that whatever they chose, someone would have to sacrifice. "There's one way," Harper suddenly said. "What?" "We both resign. Start over somewhere else together." Madison looked up at Harper. "Are you serious?" "I'm serious. St. Mary isn't the only hospital in the world. We can go to another city, where our love isn't considered abnormal." Madison was quiet for a moment, thinking. "But We've built our careers here. Careers can be rebuilt, Harper said, lifting Madison's chin. But love like this maybe only comes once in a lifetime. Madison looked into Harper's gray eyes, seeing not just love but determination. Are you sure? You won't regret it? You're the only thing I'm sure of in life, Harper said, and kissed Madison gently. I'm ready to face the whole world if I have you by my side. So what will we do? Harper smiled a smile that Madison once thought she'd never see. We'll write resignation letters. Tomorrow. Chapter 10. New Beginning. The next morning, Harper and Madison walked into Dr. Hayes's office with 2 resignation letters. What is this? Dr. Hayes asked, looking at the papers with surprise. Our resignation letters, sir, Harper said calmly. Effective at the end of this month. Dr. Hayes read through them, his eyes growing darker. Are you 2 insane? You're destroying your careers for a temporary delusion. Not a delusion, Madison said, gripping Harper's hand tightly. It's real love. Love doesn't pay bills, Dr. Hayes roared. You'll regret this. We won't regret it, Harper interrupted. We've decided. Dr. Hayes looked at them for a long time, then threw the resignation letters on the desk. Fine. If you want to self-destruct, I won't stop you. But don't expect to come back here. We don't plan to come back, Harper said. We'll go somewhere love is respected, not treated like a crime. As they walked out of the office, Madison felt both scared and excited. What did we just do? We just became free, Harper said, kissing Madison's forehead. For the first time in my life, I feel completely free. Epilogue. 6 months later. Metropolitan Hospital in San Francisco was filled with spring sunshine. Dr. Harper Williams and Dr. Madison Chen Williams, the new name made Madison smile every time she heard it, were reviewing the next day's surgery together. This boy needs cooperation between pediatrics and neurosurgery, Madison said, pointing to the X-ray image. I agree, Harper replied, then smiled. We work so well together, wife. Wife. The words still made both of them flutter. They had married in San Francisco 2 months ago, in a small but love-filled ceremony. Dr. Williams and Dr. Chen Williams, a nurse, entered. There's mail for both of you. Harper took the letter, looked at the return address, and frowned. St. Mary? Madison worried. What do they say? Harper opened the letter, read it, and suddenly laughed loudly. What is it? Madison asked. Dr. Hayes has been fired, Harper said, her eyes bright, for discriminatory behavior. And the hospital is inviting us back with higher salaries and new policies on diversity and inclusion. Madison was surprised. Really? Really? But you know what? Harper took Madison's hand. I don't want to go back. Why? Because here, I can hold your hand in the hallway without fear. Here, I can kiss you after successful surgery. Here, we don't have to hide our love. Madison smiled, reaching up to touch Harper's cheek. Do you have any regrets? My only regret, Harper said, pulling Madison into her arms, is that it took me so long to admit I love you. Then, from now on, we won't waste another second, Madison said, and kissed Harper right in the middle of the hallway, under the brilliant California sunshine. Around them, the hospital continued its operations, but in that moment, there was only them, the storm and the sunshine, who had finally found perfect balance. and they lived happily ever after.